Stephen Mann, playing Junk Reanimator, who he said when I talked to him, he said, I audibled from Jund, I wanted to play it again, but I can't be Junk Reanimator. And I said, so you want to win the tournament, huh? And he said, yeah, I do. So Junk Reanimator it is, and you know something we talked about last match very briefly before we do cover Cameron's deck. It's just that you do see 2 copies of Orzhov Charm in his deck. So
yes,
has a little bit of the spot removal main deck.
He's also playing the Borderland Ranger, something a lot of them moved away from. But as on the left, Cameron is just playing straight red-green aggro, and we start off with everyone's favorite vampire,
Strongkirk Noble. In the house, ready to give the beatdowns.
The scariest card on the play and the weakest on the draw.
That it could not be more true.
Yeah.
I've never seen a card be so good and so bad.
Yeah.
In like so many different games. You know, you look at your opening hand, you're hoping for Noble the entire time, and then after every draw step after your opening hand, you're just hoping you don't draw a Noble. It's very strange.
It's a reverse miracle.
Yeah, as we're going to see a mulch here. Overgrown Tomb, Thrag, Tusk, Grizzly Salvage, and Borderland Ranger.
All right,
so Overgrown Tomb is going to go to the grip, and Steven will pass the turn back. So Noble's going to be able to at least come across for 1, as you do see Cameron draw a Rakdos Cackler.
Dude.
Any spice in that deck list, Brad? Anything really going on
There's
here?
nothing spicy at all. I do think that Cameron kept a 1-lander and did not get there. Just the 20-land version, yeah, just misses land drop. That's makes Steven have to be very happy. His swamp looks like an Urborg too.
That swamp, yeah, he kicks it old school with his swamps. I think that's a Tempest swamp. I could be wrong for you Magic purists out there. If I'm wrong, I do apologize. As you see, an Arbor Elf drawn here for Steven's turn. So Steven is going to take his time here, figure out how he wants to pace this game. We know he has that Overgrown Tomb in his hand as well. You see a Vault of the Archangels as well.
Oh, he has a Troll too.
Okay, so there's a lot with Troll, and he's just going to play that with Regeneration up.
Yep, playing defensive. I like it. It's not a human, since it is a zombie. I don't think they've ever made a human zombie, have they?
Give him
flavor.
I think they have.
They've made a human zombie?
I believe they have. I'm going to go on a limb here. Hold on. I think that there was a black-white creature in Apocalypse.
Did they do classes then?
Putrid something. I think that's a human zombie. I'm not positive.
We'll find out. I don't
we
think so.
will find out.
But here, Cameron's going to get 2 for 1 if he has, even if he has to have the pillar, but he's sending them anyways. This makes Steven question. I mean, Steven can also just discard 2 creatures right now. That Angel Serenity is not doing anything in his hand.
Certainly not.
He's
just going to see a regeneration here, and the Cackler is going to come across. So
he'll be able to discard second main if pillar ends up happening.
Now, Brad, Lotless Troll, a card that when it was first spoiled, everyone, the Magic world went nuts. Can't believe that you could print this on a card. You're going to see a Rakdos Cackler here, post-combat be unleashed. While Steven takes his turn, we'll talk about the Troll. You know, when this was released, this is a card that a lot of people were like, oh my god, like it's a zombie, it does all these things, it's super powerful. Now you see it creeping into Junk Reanimator lists as a 2-of, is kind of where it's becoming, you know, more of a staple. Yeah. How do you like this card in this deck? Because I know that, you know, I think that the way that you like to play Junk Reanimator with their Somnambule Sage is just kind of just, you know, foot to the floor, you know, Sage into, you know, like a big mana spell, where Lotless Troll kind of is this 2-drop that lets you discard if you draw a card at the wrong time, and it's like kind of this thing that's good against like aggro decks, so you able to block, but you kind of rather go to the top. How do you like this card in this deck?
I'm not a big fan of it for the fact that, yes, it can interact with your opponent early, and there are some draws where Lotless Troll will be good, but it's mostly that it just can't die where Somnambule Sage does. Like, you have to have the Unbearer Rights with a Lotless Troll. So the reason I like Somnambule Sage is after sideboard, you can actually just cut the Unbearer Rights from your deck and just become a green, white, black creature removal thing. Whereas with Lotless Troll, it still has to go with your strategy with Unbearer Rights to do anything with your fatties. So I don't like it because it doesn't let me do things with my sideboard that I want to do. If you've ever seen my versions of Reanimator decks, it has very unique transitions. A lot of times I take a lot of Unbearer Rights out, or I take key other spells out of my deck, and I can lean on the Somnambule Sages to do the same thing as Unbearer Rights. I just have more nut draw potential. So that's why I'm not a big fan of Lotless Troll, but it does interact with aggressive decks a little bit better. I think, given 2 weeks ago, Lotless Troll was better than Somnambule Sage. I think from now until the death of Junk, Somnambule Sage will be better just because you're going to have to do more powerful things. Why would you not do that one?
As we are going to
Zombie Soldier Warrior.
Dang it.
No Zombie Human. Sorry, Cedric.
All right, so the card I was talking about was Putrid Warrior. It's a white-black. I think it's a common from Apocalypse. I used to play it back when I was a small child. And I play it sometimes now too.
Let's just be fair. We're still children, and I never think we were small.
All right, that's fair.
Okay.
zombie soldier warrior. No zombie humans in Magic yet. We still have that design space open for the zombie human set. So Forsyth, get to work on that. As we're going to see Gorklan Rampager here. It's going to push through 6 points of damage on that unblocked Cackler. Steven's going to be forced to do a little pumping here, it looks like.
Because he's going to want to put that Angel into play.
That Angel's going to want to come into play anyway off of the graveyard. So you see a lot of the Trolls going to eat that Cackler. Cameron's just forcing through damage right now.
It's going to be tough since that Vault's in play.
And now you're going to see Restoration Angel, and Vault of the Archangels, a card that we're going to bring up for you guys. It is just a one-of in these Junk Reanimator decks. But it's a very powerful one-of land. Yeah. You know, obviously, we've seen all these lands from Innistrad, your Gavany Townships, or more traditional, your Moorland Haunts. Those were dominating with Blue-White Delver a little while ago. Some of the cards that we thought would be a little bit better, like Desolate Lighthouse, not as good. But Vault of the Archangel is starting to make a bit of an imprint on this format.
Yes, it's definitely one of those cards when both players just have nothing else to do. They've attritioned each other out, and you can just use this defensively against these hyper-aggressive Burning Tree Emissary decks. As well as you can just race them. Sometimes when you have enough power but you want to attack and get the game closed, you'll just trade your 9-point swing for their 7 points of damage and gain net 2 life the whole time, trying to race so they don't get that much needed Hell Rider to finish you off.
As you are going to see a mulch here from Steven in his first main phase. You're going to see Restoration Angel come across here, and Lot Troll is going to keep holding down the fort. And again, this is one of the times where you see Lot Troll really shine here, just against your aggressive deck, your red-based aggro deck. Red decks don't really have a lot of fun trying to take down a Lot.
Let's be fair, we got land screwed here. If we had a Stormbrawl Sage, and 2 Angel Serenity would be on the board right now.
Yeah, you make a good point. You make a very, very good point. So Cameron is going to untap. He's going to draw. You see a couple Brimstone Volleys in his hand, a couple Searing Spears as well. Still stuck on those 2 lands. Hell Rider in the back of his hand too. And he's just going to pass the turn back as he has no good attacks here with the Cackler, which also means he has no good blocks as well.
Yes.
Arbor Elf, the draw here for Steven this turn, still without an Unburial Rites or, you know, a Thrag Tusk or anything really great to do. But as we said, Valk of the Archangels will provide a little bit of breathing room for him at this point, as Steven is sitting at 11, but still doing.
And he's already
fine.
Locked up when his opponent's just passing the turn. He does want to do net something, since Cameron does have the potential of 11 points of burn actually in hand. But here's the Vault, there's 7 points, and this game's wrapped up.
So you'll see Steven is going to gain a bunch of life here. He's going to play Woodland Cemetery into an Arbor Elf, and checking his mana very quickly. He does have 2 Temple Gardens, as Searing Spear is going to target that Lotleth Troll right now. It is currently a 4/3, and Steven can discard a card. He does have Angel Serenity in his hand, but
don't be greedy. That Lotleth Troll is more important.
We'll see if he's going to choose to discard or not, because he can't hardcast the Angel next turn. He does have 2 white sources, plus Arbor Elf can untap that Temple Garden, and he is going to discard, so
yeah,
makes you happy.
It does. That's a good play.
Cameron draws a Pillar of the Flame for the turn. He does not draw any lands, and when facing down a Vault of the Archangels and a large Lotleth Troll, especially as a red player, it is very, very difficult to win. And so you'll see Cameron doing a bit of counting here. But I think he'll come to the same conclusion that you and I have in the booth, Brad, and everyone at home, which is can't beat that 5/4 Lotleth Troll. It's too big.
No, too big. No threat effects. Now, Cameron does have 3 Grafdigger's Cage out of the sideboard, but Unburial Rites is not the best strategy against a red-green aggro deck on the draw anyway. I think you're going to see, depending on what S-Man's sideboard is, he's going to be bringing in as much removal as possible. He might even be bringing in those Deathrite Shamans. I am not the biggest fan of an Unburial Rites strategy in this matchup, but then again, I'll stop talking about Sage. I think you need them when you don't have it, so I don't think you'll be able to bring in those Deathrite Shamans.
Taking a look at Steven's sideboard here, 2 copies of Centaur Healer in the board, which are of course going to come in against this red-based aggro deck. He also does have an additional Restoration Angel, which is a good card, obviously, to trap people with and work with Thrag Tusk and the Healer. 4 copies of Deathrite Shaman, which are, you know, they vary from being very good to kind of mediocre in this deck, and especially in this matchup. You know, if you can get yourself in a situation where you can start gaining the life, and maybe start draining the opponent, and, you know, who knows, depending on how Grizzly Salvage goes, being able to accelerate, it's very good. But I think, you know, a lot of people look at Deathrite Shaman, they look at it in Modern Legacy, and they see it as this card that is just a machine, a 3-pronged attack, and it's not that in Standard.
No. No, it's only good at being like the reason that I like it the most on the draw in this matchup is it blocks Stormcloak Noble. It just gives us more options in against that card. That's the only way that they can really deal an absurd amount of damage early outside of their Burning Charmissaries, and it's the only card in the early game that'll get bigger than our healers on turn 3.
Okay. Another cards here, 2 copies of Sever the Bloodline, a very slow removal spell, can 2 for 1 the opponent depending on how their draw goes. And 2 copies of Tragic Slip. Slip I think is certainly going to come in here as it does take care of the Noble. It will take care of the Lightning Maulers over there as well, and you know, if Morbid does get activated, take care of anything. So I think you'll certainly see those come in here as well. Now one thing, taking a look here at Steven's deck list, outside of those Lotla Trolls that he does have 2 copies of, you find 4 copies of Angel Serenity here. You see a lot of people only playing 3 in their main deck, and he has kind of upped the count to 4 to be able to, for lack of a better term, nut draw his opponent in the mirror. Angel Serenity is probably the most important card in the mirror match.
I've never understood not playing 4 Angel Serenity.
And I was gonna say that I've never really understood why people have played 3. 3 just seems like a number where they saw like one person doing it, and everyone's like, it's probably right, and just copy it down.
I think I did play 1 open with 3, right when I start working on this deck again, and I was like, okay, it makes sense because the format's hyper aggressive. And I played 3 turns in the tournament, and I was like, why don't I have a 4th?
Yeah.
Like, I'm digging for this 1 card. Why is there not 4 in my deck?
It seems like one of the best things, if not the best thing to be doing in the format, and if it's the best thing to be doing, you want to do it as much as you can.
Yeah.
So you probably just want to play 4 of them. But one card here, Brad, that I find interesting that there's not more of, and you know, you can argue 3 versus 4 Angel Serenities, but Mulch is a card in this deck that you see vary between 2 to 4. And Grizzly Salvage, you of course always see 4 of because it's just a more powerful Mulch, but I think, you know, the idea of this deck is to turn the engine on as fast as you can, and Mulch enables the engine to start, you know, to get started. You only see 2 copies of this in Steven's deck list, and traditionally you only see 3 copies on the deck list. Why isn't this a card that people play 4 of?
Well, because it's a card that I, with the Sage versions, I mean, I have to keep going back to that because that's where all my knowledge comes from, because that's all I play.
Sure.
I actually board it out against all the aggressive decks, and that's where it's bad. You never want double Mulch against the hyper-aggressive decks because it's a flip of the coin, and it only gets you 4 cards deep, and it doesn't find you Thrag Tusks.
Okay.
So you have to hit on Barrier Rights, and you have to hit Thrag Tusks or Angels to make that powerful enough. It does fix your mana, which is nice. It does get you a little bit deeper in your deck, but you never want 2 of it. So I think in a version like S-Man's list, I would want 3, but in mine right now, currently with Sages, I only want 2. Okay. And that's because I don't need that effect, especially when I'm trying to go 1-3-7.
A traditional Magic curve.
Yeah, that is
the
traditional Magic.
The 1-3-7.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, normally it's
1-3-5.
Yeah, normally it's 1-3-5, but we're here on the 1-3-7 curve with Brad Nelson.
Reality.
Yeah, just something that's very, very easy to do.
It is. Oh man, I mean, I remember the Hope There It Is weekend where I'm like, this is what I want to do on camera, and I want to turn 3 Angel, and I just give the deck to Raptor. Raptor's like, yeah, I'll play it. This seems sweet. And like, we're both on camera round 4. They do not know what this deck is. I'm on Barrier Rights and Deathrite Shaman. He's just going, turn 3 Angel Serenity, take your team. That's sweet. Yeah. This deck's awesome.
So we see Cameron is going to keep his starting 7. Steven going to take a mulligan here down to at least 6. You know, one question about this Chunk Reanimator deck is it is going to be the highlight over the course of the weekend. We'll see if it can finally be stopped in one of these 2 standard opens. It's a deck that does mulligan pretty well.
Yes, very well, and a lot of, especially like knowing the discipline that Steve has, this could just be an aggressive mulligan against a red-green deck. Like, I know I can do better. A lot of hands are keepable in Junk Reanimator. You get to mulligan really well. I've went to 5 cards and had to discard on turn 2 with Reanimator strategies before due to mulches.
Sure.
You know, like or on turn 3 I discarded. The deck can get back its card advantage really quickly and start taking over the game. Like, and most people that when they're used to decks that mull to 5, this is a combo deck. Yes, of course, it is not a traditional combo deck you see in Legacy or Modern, but in Standard, that's what you have to consider. And sometimes you just get there with very few cards.
This is not your standard definition of a combo deck, but in Standard, you know, we're not going to have, you know, your traditional combo decks anymore. I don't think we're going to see that happen for a little while here. So we do see Cameron is going to start off with a Rakdos Cackler, while Steven just does have a Temple Guard and fast to the turn back. And we see this time Cameron does have a few more lands. Not sure if he has a green source just yet, but he is off to a good start here with the Cackler given the beatdowns. And we'll see if he has a follow-up or not. And it looks like he does. Another Rakdos Cackler.
Lots of cackling.
A bunch of Cacklers.
Now this is good unless S-Man does have a black sword. So he just drew it. I couldn't see it in his hand before, but we do have Lot Latrell followed by Borderland Ranger.
Yeah, it looks like he does have a Borderland Ranger in his hand. Can't make out if he has Lot Latrell or not. I believe I do see a Grizzly Salvage over there, and I think there is Lot Latrell in his hand. So Lot Latrell could stem the tide for right now, as it is a very tough card for the red deck to beat.
All of the options. And he is flooded. Cameron does have 2 extra lines of just a grab trigger, so this aggression is all we're going to see from Cameron unless he gets it off the top.
See Steven considering his options right now. You know, it's tough where he doesn't have a lot of creatures to discard to Lot Latrell to make it big enough to get in the way. At the same time, you know, he has to worry about cards like a Gore Clan Rampager with the Blood Rush and just a lot of different things. And on top of all of that, do I want to take 2 damage off this Overgrown Tomb? And it looks like he's going to. So he's going to push himself down to 16. And you are going to see Lot Latrell push to the front here. And this is kind of interesting, too, because it's a little game inside the game, too, here, Brad, where, you know, Steven, we know that Steven only has a Borderland Ranger in his hand to discard. Cameron doesn't know that. Yeah. So, you know, if he pushes in, you know, is he going to be scared to attack, or is this a situation where it doesn't matter, I just have to keep attacking?
This is a little depressing, what I'm going to say. I don't like it, but this is what Magic's at right now. He's forced to attack because the other deck's going to win, and Steven Mann's forced to block because that's how you interact with aggressive decks.
Sure.
So there are no decisions. Like, you just trade off your Lot Latrell, you get the board more clear because these decks just, like, get attritioned out so quickly. Well, he's actually just going to take it.
He decides to just take the damage. So he's going to take 6 right on the chin. He's going to play Stomping Ground. You're going to see a Burning Tree Emissary here. And we'll see if he's going to cast that Graph Trigger's Cage or not. And he is going to cast it. And the reason I said we'll see if he's going to cast it, because right now he doesn't have much of a reason to cast it.
Yeah.
So you don't want to let your opponent know that you have that in your deck right away. But he is going to opt to cast that there. As Steven's going to untap, he's going to draw it. He draws an Orzhov Charm, a card that we'll bring up on the screen for you guys as well, as this card has many modes.
Yeah, and they're very confusing. They don't seem like all for the same card.
So many modes and so much text that there's just no flavor text.
No. Well, it's an Orzhov. They don't have any flavor anyway.
Oh, wow.
They're just by the book.
Hater.
They're by the book.
Such a hater. As you do see Orzhov Charm on the screen there, you know, all of those modes, all these things that this card can do. But losing life equal to a creature's toughness right now, not ideal.
No.
Here for Steven, which is, you know, the mode that matters the most.
And that is the reason I do not play this card in this deck. I do not like it. I do not want to take damage against a Boar or a Hell Rider. When they play Hell Rider and they're about to attack and you get to kill their creature, you shouldn't take the Hell Rider damage.
As we're going to see a Mulch here, it's going to turn a Restoration Angel, Unburial Rites, Woodland Cemetery, and
Is Mulch
Tragic
really
Slip.
the best play he can make?
That's what he decides he's going to do. He's just going to pass the turn back, so he's threatening regeneration right now.
Yeah, but...
As you see Flint Hoof Boar, the draw for the turn here for Cameron, and one heck of a draw as well. He's going to be able to cast that. He's going to be able to give that haste and get his beatdown on. And that's exactly what he's going to do here. And this is where you take them all and you turn them all.
And you got to get them underneath the Graph Digger's Cage
That's
first.
right.
Don't forget those ones.
Now you see Steven scratching his head. Lot Latrell, as good as it was last game, I don't think it's going to be enough to save him this go-around.
Not the Swarm. That's what you're going to see a lot of Junk Reanimator decks. Now, these matchups, man, I'm a broken record right now, but like that's the only way I beat these decks with just Somber World nut draws, the 1/3/7s.
Sure.
I feel like this deck can't beat this draw.
Yeah, I mean, you know, just looking at, you know, he has a very, very aggressive draw. He started with a 2-power 1-drop on turn 1, followed up that with 2 more of those on turn 2, and then, you know, had a follow-up play. Burning Tree Emissary, not great on turn 3, but certainly good enough to keep the ball rolling. And then Graph Digger's Cage to shut off one of the options from the graveyard for Steven to be able to try to, you know, steal a win.
Healer, because we need that.
How about Gavany Township?
Gavany Township will not do what a healer could do.
And Steven's going to give Cameron his dice back and says, all right, we'll play a third game. So Cameron Baird does win game 2 with Red-Green Aggro to even up our round 2 feature match here against Steven Mann, coming off of his top 8 at Pro Tour Montreal. Don't think a lot is going to change in the sideboard here, but one thing I do want to bring up here is we do see Red-Green Aggro in the spotlight here. Now, Brad, when a lot of people look at, you know, an aggro deck in this format, a lot of people just go and gravitate right towards Naya Blitz. And Red-Green Aggro is a little bit different, does get to play a little bit more removal and burn spells, and has a little more reach, and also gets to play Hell Rider and a higher curve. If you had to play an aggro deck of choice, would you rather be the Red-Green Aggro side, or maybe gravitate what's a little bit more traditional right now in Naya Blitz?
I like how the Blitz deck is the traditional one.
Yeah, it is now.
Yeah, no, I actually really like the red green aggro decks for a long day because of the consistency you get out of it. Blitz is very inconsistent. Now, if I was just grinding Moto and I wanted to fill something that day,
sure,
it would definitely be Blitz. The deck is fun and aggressive, and you just get to do the nuttiest things. But I don't want that. That just will burn out in the day, and I'll be 4-2. Where I think a red-green deck, as long as you go consistent, you can get there. And there are a lot of decisions to be made with these types of decks. You have Boris Reckoner that gives you a lot of play. You have a bunch of burn spells. You're just trying to get that damage through. And so this is the deck that I would personally play if I was the aggressor in a format.
Okay.
Or the invitational even. I want the consistency. I think that's more important than anything because, say, a deck like Junk Reanimator, you can't prepare for them. Sometimes they turn 6 Angel Serenity, sometimes they turn 3. You just never know how powerful the draw is going to be. So I just want to make sure that I'm doing the consistent fast thing and hoping to get there.
Okay. Well, we do see both players kind of looking back at the sideboards here. Steven reaching back, maybe considering boarding back in those Umbrella Rights, a card that he almost certainly boarded out on the draws. It is a little bit slow and unwieldy. So we'll see if he's going to board those back in, maybe try to run into an Oops I Win draw for Grizzly Salvage or Mulch. Kind of see what the plan is, but this matchup is a world of difference being on the play and being on the draw.
Oh, it's unbelievable how important that is. I mean, that's the downside to the regular Negro deck, is I think its win percentages drop off significantly when they're on the draw.
Just a lot of its cards become a lot worse when it's on the draw. Cackler's nowhere near as good. Stromberg Noble nowhere near as good on the draw.
Lightning Mauler, they're all just weaker on the draw.
Yep. Now, one card that's still good on the play or on the draw, especially in Steven Mann's deck list, but a card that you don't see a lot of in the Junk Reanimator decks is Borderland Ranger.
Yes.
Now, I know that you have a 3-drop that you're partial to that we may have talked
about
a time or two. I think it's is it Summerworld Sage? I think that's a card.
Yes.
You're a big fan of.
That is.
But Borderland Ranger is a 3-drop that we have seen come and go in this deck over its lifespan. And I'm not sure exactly how good it is in this deck. Doesn't need to be able to search out a land, be able to hit its land drops, and you have Mulch and Grizzly Salvage and Mana Accelerants. But how do you feel about Borderland Ranger in this strategy?
It's terrible, Cedric.
Terrible has been announced, ladies and gentlemen.
It is unbelievably bad. That is the have I tested this deck test. If they have that in, they have not tested. And you did say Steven Mann did audible.
He said he audibled.
Yep. That is the test. If you played with this deck, you would understand that, A, you don't want all these basics stuck in your deck because you want to play the caverns or the townships, and you don't want, you don't want 6 non-green sources in your Arbor Elf deck.
Okay.
And the other is you need to be doing things faster than that. It's just not a powerful spell. It is consistent in a format that you are already the consistent deck. You need more powerful things to be doing, and it will not get you out of bad situations. Going Borderland into Restoration Angel, yay, I made all my land drops, is not going to beat your opponent going, oh, but I Grizzly Salvage and did this. Or, oh, I have this Olivia. Things like that. You need the more powerful draws. If you're trying to cast your Angel Serenities early or on time, I have some sage advice for you.
I'm not the, I think I give that a, the grading scale this early is kind of nice. I'm going to give that a B+.
All right, I'll take it.
B+. Pat Cox, if you are watching Wildness and Coddle, feel free to chime in at home. You guys can also chime in at home there on Brad's. I don't know how often he does puns, but he threw one out there for you guys at SCG Live. Hashtag SCGORL for Orlando. Joining us in round 2 today, Cedric Phillips, Brad Nelson. We are in sunny Orlando here at the Swan and Dolphin Resort.
Oh, it's beautiful down here. I love Disney. It's a place you really get a goof off.
You get to be a kid again.
Yes.
Not saying I'm not always a kid, because I am, but this just gives me an excuse to continue to be one. As we are here in round 2 of the Open Series, double standard weekend, no brainstorms, no legacy here. So AJ, sorry man,
and
nothing personal.
I'm a little excited, but it would have been nice. Oh man, Steven Mann is dropping down to 6 right now, but I would have been excited because I've actually gotten about 50 matches of legacy in last week.
That's a lot of matches legacy for you.
I'm taking the MV seriously this time.
All right, we'll see. We'll see how you do next week in Atlanta.
I'm hungry, Cedric.
It's time to get that win.
Yes.
It's time to top it one of those
It's
invitations.
been too
finally.
long. Yeah.
See, Steven is going to lay out 6 cards
He's slow
here.
rolling himself. He's like, please, I just want to win this.
He's got lands this time. You see Restoration Angel, you see Tragic Slip. Not sure if he has black mana in his hand or not, but he is going to, methodically take a look at his hand and see if he is slow. I would say he's methodical. I don't want to say slow, but he is a methodical player in real life.
Another thing that I think I'll get you to agree with me on, and this is something that a lot of the Junk Reanimator decks are not doing, is I would rather play Deadweight over Tragic Slip right now because Tragic Slip kills Aristocrat, card you're not that concerned with, but it takes care of all of these early aggressive creatures that you need to deal with. Tragic Slip does not interact with Cackler. It does not interact with... Now, it's good against Blitz, but so is Deadwood.
Sure. No, I mean, that actually makes sense. We're going to see a Avacyn's Pilgrim and a Woodland Cemetery, so
that
Tragic Slip is available.
Yep, and that Slip could have done something here.
Yeah.
And taken that down right now.
What we see in Cameron's hand, looks like he does have a second land. You see a Grafdigger's Cage. You saw his draw step for the turn is Mark of Mutiny, a card that we did talk about last round as a way to, once an Angel's Story does come into play, do those final 5 points of damage. You can look at Mark of Mutiny, actually 6 points of damage because the +1/+1 counter.
Yes.
But you can look at it as a 3 mana, 6 damage spell. And we're going to see a Flinthoof Boar here from Cameron in the second main phase. So this is a good start for him. And he does have 2 of his sideboard cards in Mark of Mutiny and Grafdigger's Cage to kind of mess with Steven.
Yeah, no, Mark is exactly what we were saying earlier. This is the card I want the aggressive decks to be playing with. So it's really great to see Cameron having it.
It is narrow, but it does get the job done, and that's what you kind of want in a sideboard card. Something that's going to get the job done when you do draw it. Very high impact card.
And that's how I've been playing Magic lately. I think being narrow is what you want out of Magic. Like, the decks are too fast now to, like, you don't go 8 turns anymore. Games are over in 5 or 6 turns. You need those narrow, powerful things to be doing.
I do see Steven is just going to play Sun Petal Grove and pass the turn back.
I have no Restoration Angel.
This signifies the big angel, and we'll see if he does have it. You do see it in his hand that he does have one, maybe even a second copy there. And Cameron, with no fear, is going to attack because, as you said, he doesn't have much of a choice. Sitting there is not going to do anything.
Yeah, and I am not the Gorklan Rampager player, but man, do I love seeing that card hit play.
Yeah.
It's just such a good feeling. It's like finally the red-green player has this unbelievable, like, you can't counter this spell, you can't play around this spell.
They don't have to play something as narrow as Thunderbolt anymore either, which was the kind of card that you needed to play as a red player to be able to deal with Restoration Angel ambushing your attack step. Now you finally have a better resource in Gorklan Rampager, and more importantly, a flexible one. As you're going to see Avacyn's Pilgrim jump in front of
we are playing around it.
The boar. So we do see he is going to play around it. Restoration Angel here before damage resolves. You guys do see Rampager on the screen, a card that you're probably familiar with, but you will grow more familiar through its time through Standard.
Yeah.
Now, how do you feel about that play? Trying to play around the Rampager on a mulligan? Should he fear it? Should he just go for it and cross his fingers and hope for the best?
I'm more concerned. I guess playing those 2 spells is better. I kind of want to take that Pilgrim out. I don't want Thrytusk hit the board this turn. I think with this board position, but because I want to draw land and use those Mark of Mutinies against that Restoration Angel. But no, I like the play. It was a correct, especially with Tragic Slip in hand. That's what you want. Like, if Gorklan Rampager happens next turn, you want to be able to kill something.
Oh, you see Steven's hand. He does have that Tragic Slip, as Brad said. He also has another Restoration Angel. Also has Grizzly Salvage in his hand as well. And then the last card you see is a Lotless Troll. So he's trying to figure out how he wants to navigate this game, because tapping out for a Grizzly Salvage here, or on his main phase, is a little bit dangerous. Because if he doesn't hit like a black mana or anything, he won't be able to catch Tragic Slip or the Lotless Troll. And the Grizzly Salvage is completely random on what he's going to turn over. So it's a little bit of a dangerous card to cast here, and he is just going to pass the turn back as Cameron does draw a 3rd land, which is a mountain here. And Cameron has drawn a lot of his sideboard cards here, and this is where you're going to see, Brad, exactly how good Cameron's sideboard is.
Yes.
This is kind of the true test, right? Where if you draw a lot of your sideboard cards in the sideboarded games, you're supposed to win. That's how sideboard cards work. And he's already drawn 2, and you're going to see him cast a Mark of Mutiny here on Restoration Angel. Well, that's ideally how it should work.
I mean, yeah, but you don't want multiples of, like, Cage, right? Like,
sure.
That's just a card you don't want. Like him he's drawing 4 of his 5 right now, and I don't know how good that is actually. But we're going to take that Restoration Angel and just send the team. Steven Mann's probably going to get that other one out. Finally open to be able to block the Flinthoof Boar.
He's finally going to get to hump something here with the Restoration Angel. Here come the gang. Steven's sitting at 16 life, so his life total is actually pretty good right now.
Oh, yeah. No, he's in a very good spot right now.
Mark of Mutiny could, it can certainly be much more of a backbreaker. And now we are going to see Restoration Angel here. He is going to blink that Avacyn's Pilgrim, and we'll see if Pilgrim is willing to jump into the battle as well, as he could trade. Actually, he can't trade with John Nova because obviously the Pilgrim is a human, but he could just save himself some damage here. So let's see exactly what Stephen Mann is going to do here. I think, the easy play here is to just jump in front of that Flinthoof board, eat that, but does he want to save himself some damage with the Absence Pilgrim, maybe in front of the Rakdos Cackler? That's the big question.
I don't like that. You have to keep your mana available. If you get stuck on resources, it gives the red green aggro person too many turns to get there. I think you just take the 7 damage, go to 9, and try to get yourself out of this. I mean, just remember, after this board clears, I have 7 power in the air against your 4 on the ground.
Okay. So you see Stromkirk Noble get a counter. You'll see Flinthoof board die, and Restoration Angel back over on Steven's side with the +1/+1 counter from Mark of Mutiny. Steven is going to draw an Overgrown Tomb for the turn. So maybe we'll see Lot of the Troll come into play. Maybe we'll see Overgrown Tomb come into play untapped, so he can play Tragic Slip plus Lot of the Troll on the same turn. How to navigate these turns is going to be a little bit difficult.
Yeah, navigating is difficult. Is Steven going to play around another Mark of Mutiny? I think that is very dangerous. If he attacks with one of these angels, Cameron can Mark of Mutiny, get in for just enough damage to use that burn spell. And I don't think the Grizzly Salvage, yes, it's a good impulse, but is it that important this turn, or is getting enough defenses on? But that board does not look scary enough to justify holding back all this angels. So, all right, correct decision. I think saying go and just trying to get out of this, that's going to win him this game if he ends up taking it down.
You see he's going to play super defensive here. So you see Cameron does have another Mark of Mutiny in his hand. He does have another Graph Digger's Cage, and he has a Searing Spear in his hand as well. So Steven playing super defensive here, trying to, not, as you said, get himself lit up by another Mark of Mutiny, and it looks like he's correctly identified that that's the card that he should be playing around.
Yeah, and he should just take the same angel, so the 2 angels can't bounce off each other in combat, and send the team.
So you see Cameron kind of thumbing back and forth here, trying to identify what am I supposed to take with this Mark of Mutiny? Is it the right time to pull the trigger on this Mark of Mutiny? What to do, what to do.
Well, my opponent has had a fistful of cards that said go every turn and had 2 spells. I think he's going to have it again.
Yeah, does he have another Restoration Angel? You're going to see Mark of Mutiny take the bigger Restoration Angel. Steven willing to pass that back, moves up a counter. And here come the Idiot Brigade. So 5/6 Restoration Angel, a 2/2 Rakdos Cackler because the Unleash, and a 2/2 Stromkirk Noble because the +1/+1 counter are coming across here. This is a quote-unquote lethal attack, Brad, but I think
is this lethal?
Yeah, this is lethal.
Check.
In air quotes. But I think we'll probably see some blocking.
Why have we not used that? Why has that never been a thing? You're attacking for 9 into a person at 9, he's got a big board of blocks. You should just go, check. That seems sweet. I'm going to start doing that.
So the baby Restoration Angel is going to jump in front of the big one, and we might see Avacyn's Pilgrim finally jump in front of something
he's not
to save
doing
a
anything
couple
with
points
his
of damage.
He's not doing anything with his man. I think you salvage before you block, right?
Get a little bit of information. If you do
yeah,
run
what
into
if you hit a Thragtusk? Yeah. I mean, he can't do lethal to you this turn.
As we are going to see the Stromkirk Noble get in for 2. It's going to move up to a 3/3, and we're going to see Tragic Slip take care of that.
Slip instead of doing anything. Okay.
Just wants to stabilize the board a little bit, as he's using his life total as a resource very well here. Is Mann moving himself down to 7 life. He is going to draw a card here. He draws a Swamp, so now he's finally in the position that he wanted to be in, which is to be able to cast Lawless Troll and Grizzly Salvage in the same turn and regenerate. So,
do you have it all, sir?
As odd as it is to see a Swamp be a big draw here, it's actually a pretty gosh darn good one.
And it doesn't shock him?
So here's Grizzly Salvage to start.
Dead.
See, Unburial Rites, Avacyn's Pilgrim, Tragic Slip, Unburial Rites, and Plains.
So that was a pretty bad one.
Not the best Grizzly Salvage we've ever seen. You know, he's ideally looking for a card like a Centaur Healer, like a Thragtusk. He just wants to gain a little bit of life, as Cameron is almost out of cards here, and it looks like Steven is doing a nice job of actually stabilizing the board as far as combat is concerned, barring a third Mark of Mutiny.
Yeah, so Cameron's going to need a Brimstone or Running Burn spells off the top to take this game. I think the board is getting a little too clogged down. But he does have 2 volleys. Well, it depends on what he boarded out. I could definitely see him boarding some of this burn spells out for these spells. So he might not have much left.
Yeah, you don't really know the composition of his deck. We see the Graph Digger's Cages, which he's boarded multiples in. We see the Mark of Mutinies, which he, of course, is bored in as well. So you don't know how much burn is left in his deck. You don't know if those Pillar of Flames are still in there after sideboard.
Yeah, the only creature I could see him cutting potentially was Boros Reckoner. Just a slow 3/3 that doesn't do enough, but I would probably keep it in personally.
And now we do see the Lotless Troll finally show up to the party, and Stephen Mann does pass the turn back. So big draw step here for Cameron, and he draws a Burning Tree Emissary, which is
exactly what you need, but
not the best draw in the world. It will add to his board a little bit and make Stephen continue to play defense.
It does make Hellrider lethal.
Also true. So that hand for Cameron again is Grafdigger's Cage. You see the Burning Tree Emissary for the draw here, and he still does have that Searing Spear as well. So he can play Emissary into, you know, the other Grafdigger's Cage and pass with the Spear if he'd like. I think he does want to try to establish a little bit more of a board presence here. No sense in really holding that Burning Tree Emissary.
It's like, I'm going to draw Lightning Mallard. It's going to be amazing. He's not going to seed him anywhere.
But by adding to the board presence, it is going to make Steven have to consider, again, keep playing defense because, you know, he can't really risk trying to attack with some of the things here because, you know, he can just clear the way, maybe mark a mutiny. So it's going to continue to make Steven's draw steps, or excuse me, Cameron have more and more draw steps until Steven does draw that Centaur Healer or that back-breaking Thragtusk.
And that is the theory of red aggressive decks for for all of time.
Now here we see an attack that's a little bit surprising here.
What?
Now this attack feels like a bit of a bluff of a Gore-Clad Rampager.
Does he just want? How do you bluff Gore-Clad Rampager? He has to block.
I don't know. That's what it feels like to me.
Oh, he wants to get that aim. The angel doesn't. I don't know what's going on. Did Steve Mann cast Mindslaver? Did we miss that?
Oh no! Oh no! Now we see a Burning Tree Emissary, Searing Spear.
It's not dead.
And Stephen Mann goes, yeah, that resolves. And now we see Cameron realizes the mistake that he has made here, and he does just pass the turn back.
Gonna take that one to
That is a back-breaking mistake there for Cameron, as Stephen is mentally pumping the fist now, able to have that occur. Stephen's gonna draw a card here. It looks like he just drew another Avacyn's Pilgrim.
I mean, the coast is clear, right? One card in Cameron's hand. It's not another burn spell because he would have corrected his mistake and killed off that angel.
Yep. So I mean, it leads you to believe that it's either just a land or something insignificant.
Yeah.
And Stephen has identified that, and he said, all right, it's time to start getting this game over with. He's going to attack for 5 with that Restoration, and it was going to knock Cameron down to 13.
Now, if you're S-Man and if that card is another 1-drop, do you play both or just play one and use the other one to make sure you deal with 3/3s? So, I mean, that's
good
what
question. I mean, he does choose just to play that card, and he does draw, Cameron does, a Boros Reckoner for the turn. And Brad, if he does eventually run into that Hellrider, if Cameron does eventually draw a Hellrider, this is going to be a backbreaking mistake that attacked 2 turns ago.
Oh, yes, of course. No, it definitely was a blunder. It just happens sometimes in the spotlight. I've seen it. There's actual tunnel vision when you're playing a match. How many times have you just like thrown it away in a feature match?
More than I would like to admit to.
Yes. Including the first time I had a feature match, I threw it away to you.
Yeah, that's true.
I begged coverage. Please don't put me in the feature match area. As a wee pup playing in my first nationals.
So Stephen does come across again with the Restoration Angel. You know, this attack is slightly risky, but at the same time, he needs to, you know, shorten the draw steps here. As Cameron does draw another Searing Spear.
And that was the lethal spear. If he didn't spear the angel, the Boros Reckoner deals at least 1 damage, and it's not over yet.
It's definitely not over yet because Boros Reckoner is representing a healthy amount of damage here.
A healthy 1 that gets that 4th spear.
It's better than none. So here come these guys now. The attack with the Burning Tree Emissary, maybe a little bit curious. We'll see how this does work out.
Well, if he blocks both creature and discards, like, if it regenerates, it's lethal, so...
You see Stephen methodically figuring out what he wants to do this turn. you're going to see that Lotless Troll jump in front of the Burning Emissary. Will Avison's Pilgrim jump in front of the Boros Reckoner is the question.
Well, the problem with that is he has lethal in play.
He probably wants to keep lethal in play.
Yeah.
Regenerate will occur on the Lotless Troll. Burning Emissary is going to bite the dust. Steven will take 3. He's going to go down to 4. And Steven will untap. He's going to draw a card.
I mean, representing lethal through in-play and creature in hand. So this game should just be over right now, unless Steven doesn't have the cojones.
So here comes a lethal attack here from
So
Steven.
you have to steer and spear the Lotless Troll. Don't do the Avison's Pilgrim. Just don't, okay.
And he is going to target the Lotless Troll. So he is going to force the Lotless Troll to regenerate and remove itself from combat.
Yeah. So now any haste creature, are we going to get there, or does he have that Pilgrim? No, he just has 2 lands.
So he just went for it. So any burn spell is going to do it here for Cameron. Cameron draws...
Stargate no! Reverse miracle!
So good on turn 1, so bad on every other turn. And Cameron Braid scoops him up. Steven Mann does win the match with Junker Animator 2-0.
I do not think
2-1, excuse me.
2-1, and I do not think he feels too good about that spare.
No, he does not.
No.
As Cameron, I think, does realize the depth of his mistake.
And the funny thing about that is he had 3 spears, but he didn't have any threat test to spear.
Yep.
He had all the spears ready and just didn't properly execute them.
They say bring two spears.
And he brought 3 and still could not get there. So
Steven Mann maybe a lot closer I think he was expecting, especially after the blunder that Cameron made.